I get asked quite regularly what I'd use for my camera setup, and I think I may have gone over it in the past, just kind of showing you some quick shots. Today I think we'll do a video on my camera setup over my bench to show you how I get the shots I get and what cameras I use. And yeah, I think you guys will enjoy this. But before we do that, I have to show you Dumbass of the Week. Check out this joker. Hello, McFly. We drive on the right side of the road here, not the left. I guess he was having a Big Mac attack. Oh wait, it's Monopoly month. He wanted to collect his coupons. I figured, for a fun video, because somebody had mentioned this about how I get my close-up shots, and they're wondering how I go about doing that. I have 3 cameras that I use. I don't use this one so much for doing my videos for my YouTube channel. This is more for production work when I'm doing some production, or if I'm doing scenery and stuff, because I have a platform for this one and a proper tripod, which the tripod actually costs more than the camera, and the camera was like $2,000 when I bought it 10 years ago. This is a 10-year-old camera. This was the first of the Sony 4K cameras that they came out with. This was the Sony AX100 is the model of this one, FDR AX100, which is still considered to be a fantastic camera. 20 megapixels, so I can do high quality stills with this camera. So quite often I'll take this when I'm going on vacation, just because I can do everything with one camera. I can do 20 megapixel stills, and it's got a 1-inch sensor, so it delivers very good still photos with shallow depth of field, because I can open the iris up and I've got manual control. Not quite as much as a DSLR, but my DSLR won't do 4K video. It'll only do HD. This has got a 12 times lens and fully manual focus, manual zoom. You can do everything with the little dial here. Switch it between focus and zoom, so you can zoom very slow or very quickly. I usually leave it in focus mode, because the zoom control is variable speed. I've had this camera for 10 years. It's quite big by comparison, but this is what I was using when I first started doing stuff in 4K. And then I bought the AX33. Now, when I started doing my YouTube videos, I was actually using a little HD camera. I think I did some on a little JVC piece of junk, which got hit with a laser once, and it burned out the CMOS chip, which just shows how bad JVCs were. It's got black spots on it, so I tossed that camera. It was one I got for free from Air Miles, and I bought a Sony CX220, which I used on a lot of my earlier videos. It looks good, but it was limited as to what it could do. Everything was basically automatic on it. When I broke the HDMI connector on that camera, I fixed it, gave it to my son to play around with, because he was just kind of getting into doing some video stuff back then, so he's got it still. God only knows where it is. Buried somewhere in his room, probably. I'll probably get it when he moves out. He'll leave it behind. I then purchased this one, which is the AX33. Highly recommended. 20 megapixels for 20.6 megapixels, so it'll actually still shoot a very good still. And actually, this is the camera I've been taking on vacations the last couple times I've gone away, just because it's smaller. It's a lot smaller than the bigger brother, and video wise, it also shoots a very good picture. It'll shoot 100 megabit MP4 4K files at 30 frames, which is typically all I shoot in. These ones are limited to 30 frames for 4K. They'll do 24 progressive or 30 progressive, but you can see it's a lot more convenient to carry around that than that because of the size. Also shoots a very good picture. I did many of my YouTube videos on this over the years, and I still use this as my second camera. A lot of times when I'm doing stuff and I go outside, I'm using and I'm recording on an AX53 right now. I'll show you that one in a second, with my setup that I've got here, which I keep set up over my bench. And this one typically doesn't go out of the studio. Basically, it stays here to do my shooting of all my videos on, and sometimes uses as a second camera. And again, if I'm doing an outdoor shoot, a commercial shoot, because I still get hired to do the odd production. I usually use this one here. And I'll sometimes use this one for YouTube stuff if I need the big sticks, but not too much. Anyway, I'm going to switch to this camera now to show you the rig and what I use to shoot over the bench and how I get the good close-ups that I can get with this camera here. Now I've switched over to the AX100. I wonder if you guys can notice the difference in the picture quality. I'm sure it does have a better picture because this camera is, well, it's a more expensive camera with a bigger sensor on it. But I get the yardstick here because this is important. Because the AX53, to get the full benefit of the zoom lens, it has to be 31 inches. As you can see there, from the subjects that it's shooting. So I've got it on a tripod mount. It's basically two tripods put together. This tripod is zap-tied to the arm of another tripod. And this is just where I hang extra wires and stuff. And this is the tripod that supports everything. Now the reason I show this setup is because this camera, to get full zoom, you have to be 31 inches. If I'm closer than 31 inches, I cannot get the full zoom lens. I'll show you guys some pictures from this one. I'm just going to take a picture of the circuit board, and we're also going to compare it to this camera here. Now this camera here has a macro that you can get in real close that you can't do on this one. This one here, if I bring this camera in too close on a wide shot, well, I can't get as close, nowhere near as close as I can with this one. So we're going to show you some close-ups made with the AX53 and the AX33 and how close I can actually get the AX33 to the subject that I'm shooting. So I'm going to shoot this. This is the AX53 I'm on again. I'm going to also fire up the AX33, which has its own memory card in it. And, oh, memory card was not completed correctly. I got to recover. Hopefully this will recover this card. There shouldn't be anything on it. It should be a blank card. But let's just make sure that it actually is going to record. Looks like we're in record mode. Okay, so I'm recording this with this camera, and I'm going to show you some shots off of it. Just to give you an idea of the zoom ratio, I'll hold both cameras at the same level, and I will zoom in both cameras. That's the 20 times zoom of the AX53, and I'll show you the 10 times zoom of the AX33, looking at the same thing. Both cameras are at the same height. I'm holding one beside the other. But now you can see the difference between the 20 times lens and the 10 times lens. If I zoom them back wide, there's the AX33 and the AX53. And as you can see, it goes wider than the 33. Actually, by I guess quite a bit wider actually, but oh, it's twice as long. It's a 20 times lens versus a 10 times. But where the AX33 really shines is that I can bring this down, and if I try to zoom in when I'm a couple feet out, where's my minimum? I'm going to look on this one and see what the minimum distance is, because it's a little bit less than the, maybe it's about the same. Actually, you know what? It looks to be about the same for full zoom. It's about the same, 30, but a little bit less. Maybe 2 inches, if that. No, yeah, it's a couple of inch or so for full zoom. But where the AX33 really shines is that I can bring it in really close. Now for this, I need to throw extra light on here because I'm blocking the light from the overhead lights. So I need to throw extra light in here, but I can bring this thing literally right down onto the circuit board. And you can see how close I am to get that shot. And I can actually, I think I can even zoom it in. Oh, I'm bumping the autofocus there. I can zoom it in a little bit before it goes out of focus. So I can bring the AX33 in real close and zoom in a little bit. As you can see, I'm showing you the shot from that. But literally it's resting on the device that I'm taking a picture of. And I can still zoom in a little closer before it goes out of focus. Now I'm going to bring the AX53 down and I'll try to see how close I can get the AX53 and zoom in with that one. So as you can see, the AX53, I can get those type of close-up shots from, what did I say it was, 31 inches up? Yeah, it has to be 31 inches up. I can get those great close-ups, just like I'm getting with the 33, but I can get them from a distance. The 33, I got to bring the camera right in to get those type of shots. The 33 will, or the 53 will not focus anywhere near as close, as we'll see when I try that in the next shot. This time I've brought the AX53 down, and as you can see, the picture is clear, but I'm on the full wide angle. If I bring the other one down to a similar height from the board, I can zoom the 33 in a little bit and it will maintain focus until it doesn't. Okay, so I have quite a bit of leeway in my macro mode on the AX33, as you can see. And get some nice close-up shots with the camera right in there on the board. On the 53, on the other hand, as soon as I start to zoom at all, like anything, it is going to lose focus. It only does macro when it's on a full wide angle. It is completely useless. As soon as I start to zoom, that's it. There's no zooming at all when it's on macro. It has to be on the full wide angle. So that is the limitation on the AX53, is that you can't do telephoto macro shots. As soon as you start to move, it's gone. Whereas on the AX33, I can bring the camera right back in there. I'm going to pull the other camera out of the way just so I can show you guys again. I've mounted at its 31 inches from the bench, and we will bring the other camera in again and I'll show you how close I can get it. So here comes in this other camera. I'm going to zoom in on that chip again. So we'll zero in, and again I can bring it right down in there. As you can see, I can get right down. The camera is actually resting on the base of the unit. And we'll throw some light in there so we got some good light. And I can zoom this thing in, and it will not lose focus for quite a while. You see? There you go. So I do have some focus range on the AX33, which makes it a really neat camera for getting in real close. If you can get in close, right? You can get in some great shots with this camera. Get it in there real close. People almost think I'm using a microscope, but I'm actually not. Sometimes I use this camera in this way, where I bring it right down so that I can get a real good close-up of a component or of a circuit board or something, and I can still have some zoom range. As you can see. Whereas the 53, as soon as I touched it, it went out of focus. I'm in focus now, and I can zoom back. See, I've got a bit of leeway. So that's the big advantage of the older camera. I tell people, if they're telling me they're looking for a camera for shooting stuff like this, I tell them, go find yourself a Sony AX33. You will not be disappointed in the AX33. If you can't find an AX33, AX53 is excellent, and the AX53, I use this as my production camera for all my videos just because it's got that long lens. I can get those close-ups without having to get the camera right in there, but I can certainly get this one in a lot closer and then take advantage of the zoom. Anyway, I just wanted to show you guys my little setup here that I use for production. This DVD player, by the way, I ran it all night. This is the one I fixed yesterday. Was just cleaning off the lens, and I ran it all night, and it was still playing today. I actually put it together when I was test running it, but I pulled the top off it again just to do this demo. But this, the 33 has the same, basically it's got, other than it's only got a 10 times lens and it will focus in a lot closer, it still has the same optical steady shot. You can see the lens, it floats. So it's got a gimbal on there, which makes for really good handheld shots. And that's one of the reasons I'm using this one now when I'm traveling, because I don't necessarily want to drag a tripod with me. I can stand and get a really good, still steady image with this camera. Or I use my little DJI, a pocket camera with the full gimbal. I use that one too. Anyway, I just figured I would show you guys these cameras. Another difference between this one, the 53 and this one are the same. They use a transreflective LCD. Actually, it's basically more like LCOS, liquid crystal on silicon. The little eyepiece here, which this one has, as does the 53, it uses a strobed LED. So it's got red, green, and blue LEDs that run in sequence, almost like a DLP, onto a little chip. I don't know whether it's a DLP chip they're using in there or whether it's LCOS. I think it's probably LCOS. It does deliver a great picture, but it's not as good as this bad boy, because this one, the eyepiece on the back, and I know you guys probably aren't going to see it here, but the eyepiece on the back here, covered with dust, is OLED. Has a little sensor in there so that when you take your eye away, it actually turns the screen off. When you put your eye up to it, it turns the screen on. But this one is an OLED, far superior to the transreflective screens on these ones for the eyepiece. What you see is what you get on this camera, and it's even more accurate than this. When you're using the electronic viewfinder, the OLED screen, what you see in the screen is what you're going to get on the video. And that's why I use this one for when I'm doing scenery and a lot of times travel, or when I'm doing some commercial production work. I use this one because when I see it on the screen, there's no surprises. It shows me my color, it shows me my contrast. Everything that I see on the screen is what I get. And that's why when I bought my Sony still camera, I've got an Alpha 77. The reason I bought that was because it also had an OLED screen. And you can't beat it. You're going to see exactly what you see in the viewfinder. And others that use an LCD screen, they're good for framing. They're not that sharp, and they don't really give you an accurate representation of what you're going to see. Whereas this one here is sharp enough to focus, and it shows you exactly what you're going to get. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed my camera setup, and maybe this will give you guys some ideas if you're thinking of setting up a workbench like mine for doing videos or anything like that, and you're wondering what cameras to get. Well, all these are good choices. You probably won't find many of these around because it's pretty old by today's standards. You might find some of these around for a good deal. And given the choice, if I was picking between the 33 and the 53, I would take this one. And the main reason is because the image sensor is bigger. Going back to the AX100, you'll notice I've got a shot of the AX53's flip-out panel, and you'll see it's only 16.6 megapixels. That's fine for shooting 4K video, but for stills, it's only going to take a 16.6 megapixel still if you're going to use it for stills as well. The AX33 has 20.6 megapixels. So as far as shooting stills, this one actually does a better job. And they have a mechanical shutter in them. When you're in still mode, you'll actually hear it click. And if you look in the lens, you'll actually see the shutter open and close when you're doing stills. They work really good as a still camera. If you're only going to carry one camera with you, that's probably the one to get, if you can find one. Now this has been replaced by the AX43. Well, both of them have been replaced by the AX43. They dropped the pixel count on that down to, I think it's 9.8. So for doing stills, it's just not as good. But they also dropped the eyepiece, so it only has a flip out screen. And anybody who's had to deal with a flip out screen in the sun knows what a pain in the ass they are to try to frame up and see anything. You really need that eyepiece if you're shooting outside in the sun. And that's another thing that the AX100 that I'm shooting on excels at, because the eyepiece is very bright, but you can shield your eye from it a little easier from extraneous light. The only thing I wish it had, which it doesn't, is an eye cup that would actually cover the side of your face to stop sunlight from shining in and bouncing off your eye socket, which tends to wash things out. But again, outdoor use, that's a must. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed my camera setup. Bye for now.